Hello, everyone. Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel. Um, so there is some escalating news happening right now in the Middle East, Iraq. Um, we can see here, I'm reading that Iran announced that it hit several dozen missiles to Iraqi bases uh, housing U.S. Army soldiers and personnel. So Iran guards missiles. Where is this from? This is from Radio Farda. Iran hits U.S. bases in Iraq with missiles. Second wave of launches reported. Now, you can see that the situation there is definitely escalating very quickly, and the idea that Iran is going to sort of wait until the situation gets better or sort of quiets down after the death of General Qasem Soleimani is not really valid at this point, because Iran just now officially announces that it hit U.S. bases in Iraq with missiles. Let's see what it says here. The initial attack approximately 90 minutes earlier. So this is, I'm assuming, so it says January 8th, 2020. So basically this is, there's January 8th now there, right? So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Iraq is about 7.5 hours, or if not 8 hours ahead of us, our time in Eastern Standard Time. So this is from, again, Radio Farda. I'll send you the link here. I'll just send it onto the live stream, so you guys can take a look at the link. And okay, so there's two waves of attacks that have happened. So 2 waves of attacks. They hit American targets in Iraq. The Pentagon confirms 2 bases were hit with more than a dozen ballistic missiles, while Iran claims tens of missiles were fired. Iran's Fars news agency earlier published a statement by the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps in the early hours of January 8th, announcing tens of ground-to-ground missiles were fired at the occupied American airbase of Ain al-Assad. Okay. The communique added that the operation is codenamed Martyr Soleimani. Okay, so these are rapid escalations between Iran, as many in the news did not predict that it's going to happen that quick, but now it's showing that this is happening very quick. Let's see what else we can see here. Now I heard from another YouTuber, I'm not sure if you guys follow him, AMTV. So I've been following AMTV for several years now. And he just came out saying that the States has launched missiles into Iran. Now, I can't find any news regarding that, if that's true or not. But I don't see that here. Let's see if we have anything on VOA. So as the situation there in the Middle East escalates, we have to only speculate to know what's going to happen next. Which the Pentagon has confirmed that it did hit at least 2 bases in Iraq, and Trump is threatening the cultural sites in Iran. Specifically, I'm not sure, I heard there's mention about religious sites, but I don't think that's really going to happen in terms of we'll see, because that's going to create an all-out war, not necessarily between Iran and USA, but other Middle Eastern countries are going to get involved. Let's see. U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening to hit Iranian cultural sites if Iran retaliates for last week's assassination of its top general, Qasem Soleimani. So this is what Trump has said. They're allowed to kill our people. They're allowed to torture and maim our people. they're allowed to use roadside bombs and blow up our people, and we're not allowed to touch their cultural sites. It doesn't work that way. Okay. ISIS targets cultural sites. The Taliban destroys cultural sites. The United States should not join that list. Former U.S. ambassador to Russia under Obama, Michael McFaul, tweeted. And as we know, yesterday, Iran withdrew from the nuclear agreement. They are no longer abiding by the nuclear agreement that was established between Obama and the Iranian government. So that's been abolished completely as of yesterday. They still do state that they're under the compliance of the United Nations and the IAEA agency, but we all know how that went for the last 20 years. So this agreement, now they've abolished it completely since yesterday. So we don't know exactly how far this is going, but it seems like it's getting sort of out of control. I'd say people are estimating, again, the pundits in the media were estimating maybe 2 months, could take years before Iran retaliates, but they've done that within less than, I would say, 48 hours, less than their the funeral's completion, not even 24 hours since the funeral of their General Qasem Soleimani. So you can see how this person was so important in Iran to the Iranian regime and within the their groups in the Middle East. So that was a big blow to them. Okay. Democrats say there is no doubt Soleimani was rotten and a killer, but they say Trump's action increases the threat of a U.S.-Iran war. So Democrats definitely are not going to make it seem that Donald Trump did a great job, right? So for as an American, but yeah, you can see like how they were sort of handling the issues, giving everything on a silver platter, and Trump is not in that domain. Is like 180 degree in the opposite direction. So this is okay, Matt, man, the God, what you think, bro? Trump blowing up that funeral? He want war and blood. I don't know. I don't think he's going to launch any attacks on them on the funeral per se. I think it's sort of going out of proportion, and for him to say he wants to launch attacks on cultural sites, it's going to be a little bit difficult because Iran has a very rich history culturally. They have many poets there that are buried that even prior to Islam, a lot of their poets, Hafizi and other poets that are really important. So, and other cultural sites. But if he's going to launch anything against religious sites, that I would be against 100%, because Iran being a religious, having deep roots in Islam, Shia Islam, and to bomb religious sites, now you're going against not just Iranians, I would say the Iranian regime, but you're also looking at building tensions between Iraqis, because many Iraqis, millions of them are Shia, Lebanese, Syrian, other Middle Eastern country, and as well even Shia Sunnis, that they see, okay, if U.S. is going in, although there is tensions from historical times between the two main sects of Islam, I think a Muslim sees that a foreign country is coming in and hitting religious sites, then this is not going to lead to anything other than more escalation and more tensions, and now opening up to a new frontier. Some people may interpret it as a war on religion. So I think Trump and the people around him. I'm not sure, he was been really hesitant in listening to the neocons that are surrounding him. He's been really like patient and hesitant. But as I mentioned in previous videos, Iran's strength has gone more has increased out of proportion within the Middle East. Me being, looking at the situation for the last, even since 1990, they've been, having a lot of influence in countries such as Lebanon, and then up until 2000, you can see their influence in Palestine, in Syria after the, yeah, people have no word, like, they're really, it's just, it's like any organization. If you have one or two people that are, you say, corrupted, or they have um, influence, it's going to ruin the whole thing for everyone, right? So, but I don't know, like, Iran's influence is very strong now in the Middle East. Since 1990 and 2000, it just, every time they get into these regional wars, they're going to come out stronger. And after the fall of ISIS, they became even stronger, So I'm not really, support of the ideology, definitely, and um, but the thing is, you have legitimate countries. I would say, of course, every Middle Eastern countries, there's no freedom in the Middle East in terms of the regimes established there, but there's still constitutions, there's still elections per se from the people. That's the but then when you come to see foreign influence establishing, whether it's Iranian or American, establishing bases in other countries that have a government, legitimate countries that have government. Um, that's my concern, because I've seen that with the militias. If you look at Lebanon, now in Syria, Palestine. So the U.S., they're seeing, they have allies there. They have Israel, they got Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is staying sort of on the low line, but they're definitely worried. They see Iran's military influence has grown drastically, and they're getting a lot of support, especially for the underdogs. Countries that have been where most, there say, certain groups are under oppression, or seeing the corruption in government. Although these countries do have constitutions, but how legitimate are they? Is it, the corruption there in the Middle East is very seen. It's seen, right? So I would say that the situation there is going to be definitely escalating in an exponential way. And we pray for peace, but we'll see what the result is. Iran is now not taking its time. It's definitely retaliating immediately. They have definitely support. They have the backup support from Russia, from maybe in the background in China. So Iran is not really afraid per se of the situation. They're not definitely holding on and waiting to attack. It's less than 24 hours since the funeral of the general, and they've somewhat, I wouldn't say this is their full retaliation, but they've already had, it looks like, 2 waves of attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq. Let's see if we can see anything new coming out here. Because I heard that the U.S. has launched attacks within Iran, but I can't seem to find anything on that. Like, I've just heard that on YouTube, but that could be just some word. No, there's nothing coming up here. So as you guys can see, Iran has launched a couple of attacks, 2 waves of attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq. It's live, like less than an hour ago, I'd say 45 minutes ago, that most of the news is coming out regarding this. So again, less than 24 hours after the funeral of the General Soleimani, Iran has launched attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq. What is the U.S. response? We are not sure yet. And if anything new comes up, if I hear any new information, I will definitely post it here on YouTube and let you guys know what's going on. So thanks for coming to the channel. God bless, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, Definitely, United States is not going to stay quiet. As Trump is not the type of person who is gonna just say something and not follow through with his word. We've seen that already since his election, that most of his promises are coming through, and he may delay. He may have some situations of corruption around him, but he said that if Iran attacks, if Iran does, sends any missiles, sends any attacks on American interests in the Middle East, he's going to retaliate, and it's going to be whether Iraq. He also mentioned sites in Iran, but I just hope that doesn't go into the religious domain, because in the Middle East, religion plays an important role for people. Majority of, like, I don't want to say majority minority, because there's a lot of people now moving away from the religious, concepts and beliefs. Not necessarily beliefs, but having religion as part of their daily life involving governments. We're seeing the result, but we've seen that also in Europe. We've seen the result of how when people hide behind religion to stay in power, to hide corruption. Unfortunately, that's the case in the world. Is people will hide behind good beliefs in religion, and most religions, what I understand is, and from my own beliefs, religious beliefs, that religion teaches to humble yourself, to be peaceful. But as we can see, a lot of corrupted people will hide behind religious organizations and for power, and money, power, and influence corrupts. So especially if the intention is good initially, and then over time there's a lot of corruption, and people gets out of control, and people can't really speak out, and then you can start seeing how the devil plays a big role in manipulating societies and social life. But for Trump to attack the religious sites in Iran, I would say that's not the best route to take, because that's going to create now tensions with other countries. Not necessarily Iranians. Iranians have a very rich culture even prior to Islam. So Islam is rooted in the country, and especially the Islamic Revolution, and the regime there is very rooted into Islam. Absolutely, it's Islamic regime. But what I mean is, if they attack religious sites, me being a Christian and knowing that he's attacking religious sites, I don't think this is a benefit. This is not gonna, it's not gonna weaken the regime. If he's trying to weaken the regime, this is not gonna weaken the regime. It's gonna make more conflict now with other Middle Eastern countries. Because you have a lot of Shias in Iraq, and you have Alawites in Syria. The Alawites in Syria, they are very closely aligned with the Shia Islam. You have a lot of Shias in Lebanon. So it doesn't make sense to do such a thing. Even a lot of Pakistanis that I know, from the religious affiliation is with Shia, so they'll go to religious sites in Iraq and in Iran as a pilgrimage. So I don't think it's a good, not sure who's giving him this type of advice, and what's the motive, because that's going to make a person or a group of people more indicted or sort of more influenced to stick with the religion. When you start threatening someone's daily bread. This is what they believe, and this is how they live. And, people can't change by force like this. If you have a conflict, a difference in opinion, but um, if he's going to hit military sites within the country, that might be a more maybe something better that would be better recepted from people watching the news. But I for the most part, I see how Trump has helped the United States, rebuild their economy, and um, he's for the American worker. He is trying to bring back values to the country, which the Democrats have destroyed for the last 20, 30 years. We've seen how the United States has drifted from a capitalist, republic to almost near socialist country, and all because Democrat and Republican, but deep state politics here influencing social life um, have brought the United States into like going very far left, no values, the uh, uh, the roots of Christianity, Judaism, those values of family, of love, compassion, understanding, those have sort of eroded, sorry, over the last 30, 40 years, and Trump is trying to bring those values back, but um, I would say this method is not the best when you start threatening not even let's say Iranians that are faithful. They're not really agreeing with the regime, but when you start threatening cultural or religious sites, this is not going to go well. So, in any case, we'll see what's going to happen. I'll let you guys know what happens. I'll just keep following up with the news, and hopefully the situation there eases out where things have resolve in a as least conflict as possible between the United States and Iran and other countries. So thanks for coming to this channel, and if you'd like to subscribe, please go ahead, give it a thumbs up or share if you want this video or this channel, and God bless you all. Take care.